got about 15 minutes for Q&A, and then we're going to take a break. So I think, is this working? Is this on? Yeah? No?
I will not be offended if all the questions are for Curtis, by the way. Totally fine.
I have a question for both of you. Can I ask 2 questions by chance? Sure. All right, cool. So for Curtis, you have 4 assistants. I have 1. I'm curious to see what your decision-making process was on hiring just 4 separate ones for different categories versus one that can do all 4.
So the reason why we actually initially hired them to all be phoning assistants, and then what happened is that we realized that some of them are very slow on the phone, some of them didn't talk to the customers properly, some of them are better at responding to text messages. So what it was is it was just really taking their skill sets that I knew that they were better at, and I put them in an area that they were the best at. So we have one girl that's amazing on the phone, and then we have a guy that just, he's a genius on doing everything online. So he's in Indonesia, and he is, he was just really good at texting, so he'll do all the texting base, get it all ready. And then when my assistants wake up the next day in Colorado, they're like, oh, we just need to program, plug this, put this here, put that there, because he's already done all the texting base and got it all done. So what I would encourage you to do is sit down. I hired multiple people because it was just like, oh, we need a lot of people phoning. And then I realized, well, we don't have to do phoning because texting is a great way to get a hold of people, emails, stuff like that. And I just found that certain ones of their skill set were better in those areas, and then totally delegated it to them in those areas. So.
Perfect, thank you. And then for Brett, I was curious on the HSA. I'm assuming, can you start that at whatever age you want, or does it need to be a certain age for that?
I believe so. Yeah, it doesn't matter what age, as long as you are currently paying premiums for a high deductible health insurance plan.
Okay, and then, but
yeah, I believe it's like 500 or more. It might vary on state, but I mean, yeah, Google search and then talking to.
Because I'm under 26. I'm on my mom's plan currently still until 26, then I get kicked off.
So yeah,
should I
you
get it now?
you have to be the one making payments on that
Got it.
plan.
Okay, that was my question.
Good question.
Tell your mom to drop
Yeah,
you.
might be a good investment to get dropped by mom. Maybe I don't know. Could be good.
This is for Curtis. For yearly review, do you target a specific time of year to do that with your business gift clients?
Yes.
Or is it whenever you can?
I try to target them in the slower months. So
Which
that's
is like, what, February, March?
That's going to be February, March, April, May, June, before all the shows. I know that.
First 6 months of the year?
Right. But the thing is that, or at the beginning of the year, like January, I did a yearly review with one of my, it depends on the person. So like I have a realtor that they do their yearly review in January, because then we can see how many homes they sold. So he sold 120 homes last year. So when I sat down, I was like, what's the goal this year? And he said 150. So then he ordered $18,000 worth of his first 6 month shipment. And then I know that I'm doing another yearly review with him, or semi-annual review with him in June.
Okay.
And then he'll order his next 18,000. So the thing is, it's just based off of when they buy their gifts and how they buy the gifts. But I would tell you that the business owners, you need to get to them way before the fall comes, because they're already allocating their money. Not just tax season, but you got to remember all their budgeting comes through in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is that first quarter comes, they know exactly how much they can spend, and they're getting ready to just unload it wherever they can. And instead of them just unloading it wherever they can, you should be doing a review so that before they unload it with you and not anyone else, right? That's where that swag comes. They're like, oh, well, we need to get some t-shirts and we need bullshit. You don't need that. You just need Cutco, right? That's where you do that review before they spend that.
So like
what I would do,
the safe to say.
yeah, so what I would do is I would ask them specific questions like, hey, when do you know you're budgeting, or when is your budgeting coming in? And they'll tell you, oh, well, we get our budget at the end of May, right? Or we get our marketing dollars at the end of April, right? Then next thing you know, now you know their budgeting, and you're like, okay, we're going to do
yearly review in May.
Your review is on May 28th.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, perfect timing. You know what I mean?
Awesome, thank you.
Go over to Lori.
All right, I have a question on the Roth IRA. You said the income limits are 218 joint. Is that personal?
So that is.
And is that
That
net?
is total net, yeah.
Total net.
Yeah. So if you're.
We're incorporated and then it flows into our personal, so is that 218 from our personal?
Total. Yeah, total between the two, because especially if like the IRS hates S corps for this reason. There's so many advantages that we get. So when I look at my taxable income end of the year, and we're making decisions based on that for that Roth IRA, I'm looking at both. Yeah. Now,
Because my husband and I will sell Cutco, so we gross a lot and then we net a lot. And
trust your CPA on that, because my idea is, hey, if he signs off on it, I should feel good.
Okay.
They might know something that mine doesn't, where there's some way around that too.
but it's 218 net
Yes.
personal.
Yep, you got it.
Luciano or anyone? Yeah.
So questions for Curtis. I know you said you have different assistants for different things. So like your phoning assistant, what stuff do you have them do throughout the year?
So phoning assistant is, well, I have two that do both phoning, but one is just backup. Like if the one gets overwhelmed, we can't do it. So what she does is she does all the phoning for setting up service events, service calls, because we do service calls every week, do service events every week. But then what she does is she's also doing all the calls for like if a customer sends in an email that's like, hey, I have a broken knife, how do I get it sent back? Then that email will go to her, and then she will call that customer to give them the information and the data that they need. Normally, we just email them back, but most of the time we do a personal touch because we want it so that they're getting a phone call from someone rather than just some electronic response back. So she's doing all of those little key things there. She also takes care of my voicemail. We have a Google voicemail where all the customers call back into. So if a customer has an issue with the color of a knife or they have any of those issues, she takes care of that with Olean as well. So she's doing all the work that I don't want to do.
How many hours a week would you say that they do stuff for you?
So she's doing about 20 to 22 hours a week. Does that kind of give you?
Yeah, thanks.
She's not that expensive. It's great.
What about the email and text one?
About 12.
I have two questions for you, Curtis.
Okay.
Piggyback off Luciano, your other assistants, about how many hours are you giving them as well? Are they
Yep.
all 20 hours?
So for all four of them, we're about 40 hours total.
Got it. My other question is for your service events. You talked about making sure having a full schedule. Do you have any policies or anything in place to deter against like no-shows?
Yes, I do. So if you are.
He was triggered there. That was.
I do. So we do because, like I said, time is important, and I have lots of customers who are trying to get into those those spots. So if someone does not come, it's not a reprimanding, but it's more of a not polite little email that we send. That's like, hey, it looks like you missed your appointment. Do you not know how important that appointment was? We have many people that are trying to get those spots, and it would have been nice to know in advance, right, that you were not going to make your appointment. We will let you know that we will put you in the schedule for later, but you will be on the, I don't say the back of the list, but you won't be a priority on the list for the next time. And what we do is we don't send them the email. We put a little tag that says next time, and then we don't contact them. We only call them for the appointment. We don't send them the email because we don't want them booking another one and going, oh, I forgot again. No, you're out. Like, I can't have you doing that, and I'll just do a personal appointment with them. So we send that little email to them, but then we let them know we're like, maybe it'd be best if we come to you rather than you coming to an event. And then we get a lot of customers like, I'm so sorry, I won't let that won't happen again. And it actually causes loyalty where they're just like, crap, like I screwed up. And then when we go out to their house to do an in-home, they spend more. So.
Mark, do you ever do have you ever tried marketing in the cats? I don't even know how to ask this. Have you ever explored, experimented, like kind of marketing, put that in the marketing, or would you not recommend that at all? Like saying like, don't know
warning.
shit.
Oh, we have that in there too. So in our when you get the email, there's 2 warnings that come on the bottom. It says you must be the main user of the knife for this appointment. If you are not, please do not send your child. Please do not send someone that's a relative or anything like that. It's very important that the owner of the knives that use them primarily are at that event, right? And then it also says in there too, if you cannot make your schedule or you cannot get to your appointment, you need to follow up with me within 24 hours, because if you miss that appointment, it's going to be very hard for you to get an appointment later. So, because it creates, urgency. Like, don't mess it up. Don't mess with my time.
Curtis, following up on the assistant questions, adding an additional assistant, adding more, basically adding an additional assistant, when are you choosing, what's the decision train for adding an additional assistant?
To add them is when your first initial assistant is either feeling like they're overwhelmed, overworked, or they're just not getting anything productively done. Does that make sense? So for us, instead of firing someone, we're like, oh, we need someone to help that person, support that person. So it's very interesting that we keep them around longer, because they're like, hey, thank you so much for hiring someone to do this end that I just couldn't get to. You know what I mean? So that's why I said just watch their performance. If they're like stellar and then all of a sudden they're starting to dip, that usually tells you that they're overwhelmed or there's just too much going on. And then that's when we sit down with them and then we go, hey, I see that your numbers are going down and you're making 14 calls and only scheduling 2. Like, can we, what's going on here? And they're like, I can't get to the calls because I'm so focused on getting this done and this done and this done, and it's just stressing me out. And then when I get on the phone, I'm just not on. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, let's remove that duty from you, and then let's hire someone that does that, and then you can focus on what I know you're good at. And then what we do is we build them up, and then we support them, and then next thing you know, they're doing great. So.
I got a question.
Okay.
When you book your service events, do you typically do them in batches, like 2 or 3 locations in a week at a time? Or are you typically doing like 1 at a time? Like, can you give us a little clarity on how you schedule those out?
So the only time we do batches is if it's a push period, or if we're in a location that we need to do a batch in. So to give you an idea, we'll do a batch where we're in Cortez, Colorado, we're in Durango, Colorado, and then we're in Farmington, New Mexico, and then we're down in Albuquerque. So we'll do a batch where we're here 2 days, here 2 days, here 2 days, here 2 days, so that we just have a week of service events. So our customers in that area know that we're in that area. Right? So if someone misses the Durango, then they can drive 45 minutes to get to the Cortez one. If they miss those 2, well, then you can go to Farmington, which is an hour away, right? So we allow them to have that multiple thing. But if we're in a major metropolitan, or we're in an area that is under serviced, we only do that one location. So like we'll do an Albuquerque, we'll do 3 days. This year we're going to do a 5-day event because we continually get 70 to 60 people in those 3 days. So we're going to just move it to 5 days, and we're going to try to get to 100 to 120 people. So, but we only do it twice a year. So those customers only see us twice a year. Does that make sense?
What is your minimum for like, hey, this is worth it for me to do this service event? 6 scheduled, 8 scheduled, 10 scheduled?
Yeah, so if we have 30 people in that area, we're going to go do a service event there. Texas, they were shocked that I came down and did service events in Houston. I did one in Austin. I've done them in Dallas. I've done them in Wisconsin. I've done them in Minnesota. I've done them in Iowa. I've done them in South Dakota. Like wherever my customers are, I'm going to go do a service event because that's my job to take care of them. So what we do is we do a 50-mile radius, and if we have 30 or more people, then we go out and do those. So I'm already planning to go to New York. I'm going to be going to California. I mean, there's different things that are in the works, so.
See you in New York?
Yeah.
Hey, Curtis, so you mentioned that you do 2 flash sales a year, but then you also mentioned catalogs. So I'm assuming the first flash sale is somewhere between like spring and summer, and then is your last one in the fall, or is that blended
Yep,
with
we
catalogs?
have a flash sale in May, and we have one right before Thanksgiving. And the reason why we do it before Thanksgiving is we don't want to be a Black Friday person, but we want to get our orders in before December 1st, so that if Cutco goes, hey, we have until December 6th, and then all of a sudden they're like, no, we had until November 28th, I'm like, okay, you can get your knives still in time. So we do it right before Thanksgiving, and the reason why we do that is because Thanksgiving, so we do a lot of marketing in Thanksgiving, that's why you see my fall like just ramp up, is because we send them out a letter, a thank you letter that's personalized from me, thanking them for being a customer, thank them for everything that's going on, and then I thank just everything. Then we have our monthly marketing email that gets out, and then next thing you know, it's like, hey, we put in there, just so you know, there's a flash sale coming. You want to get it before the holiday. And then the reason why we do that is because everybody likes buying Cutco before Thanksgiving, because most people have terrible knives. So they like having sharp knives for Thanksgiving because that's the feast, right? So that's why we strategically do it at that time.
So then in your content email before the flash sale, you say, hey, like keep an eye out for this.
Yes, just
And then
so
you
you
also
know.
say like, hey, the catalog is coming soon, like keep an eye
Right.
out for that in your mail.
Yeah, so the catalog, so with our catalog, we don't like make it a big like, oh my gosh, your catalog's coming. It's just, hey, just so you know, your catalog is coming in the mail. If you need anything, let us know, that kind of thing. But with the flash sale, we definitely do that. We're like, hey, keep your eyes out. There's a special announcement coming on this day. And then they have it already scheduled. And most of our customers, they like to just put it in their thing. And they're like, okay, Curtis has a special announcement. Anytime I do a special announcement, it's usually a new product, right? And that's how I introduce the new product. So now when I do my special announcement, it's now a flash sale.
Thank you.
I'm just curious how far in advance you are sending out marketing for your service events, texts and emails.
Yeah, so we have service events. They're already being contacted 3 weeks in advance before it happens. So if we have a service event, it's 3 weeks. And then on the second week, so they have 7 days. If it's not filled up, then we give them a reminder. And then if it's the week before, then we do for our phone, we start calling. We don't send them a, hey, you have like 2 days. Usually we just have my assistants, I'm like, start phoning, we have 5 appointments left, like we gotta fill them. You know what I mean? Or 15 or 50 or however many it is, then we just do that. But we do 3 weeks in advance because our customers, my customers don't like it when we call them the week before. And they're like, I have so many things going on, I can't believe you're calling me the week before. Can't you do it like 2 weeks out? So now we just do service events 3 weeks in advance, and then it works out great. Like Texas State Fair, I send that out before Texas State Fair even starts, and that's like a month in advance, letting customers know we have service events. And then midway through Texas State Fair, my events are completely full. And then when I have customers at the booth that need it, then I'm all like, oh, well, we'll put you in a window scheduling, because now I know exactly who that person is, what they're doing. And
Are you doing email and text?
email, text, and phone calls.
So the email and text are those going out at the same time as that?
They're simultaneously.
Okay, great, thank you.
We have to do that because, like I said, 2 hours in some of them and it's gone. And people are like, I didn't even get notified. And I'm like, look at your email. They're like, I didn't get an email.
Curtis, I have twofold question. One is with texting based. I end up having like when a text goes out, a mass comes in, and so how do your assistants organize that in a way that you can effectively do the ordering or whatever? How does
So-
that look and work?
Good question. We stage our texting. We don't just send it all at once. What we do is we'll send out like 400 text messages. We'll wait like 5 to 6 hours, see what the response is, take care of those. Then we'll send out another 300 or 400, and then we'll wait another 5, 6 hours. And then the next day we'll do another wave. So like when we're doing our flash sale, it takes 3 days of waves of our flash sale to let them know that the flash sale is coming. And then on the day of the flash sale, it just naturally happens. So what we
But
do.
you're splitting up the flash sale as well with your amount. You have to.
Any text that I send out, I have to do that.
Yeah.
Because it overwhelms the system, and then
Yeah.
you have people responding and then waiting to respond. It's
Yep, I learned from that. The other thing was with, shoot, I forgot. So I'll come back to that.
We got time for like 2 more questions. Yeah, Justin and
Curtis, for those of us who have not been doing very many tags at all in the CRM,
You need to start.
we need to start. We need to start.
Yeah, that was
and what
easy.
would you say? What would you say are the most important tags, like the most game-changing tags to start?
So, tags that we are contacted, serviced, need servicing. I do believe, Josh, is this right? You can color code them now? Because it said they could do yellow and they can do, is that in the CRM? You can, your tags, you can color them? Is that true? No, maybe it's just me thinking. I'm not the person to ask. Okay. But the thing is that we have, so we have needs serviced, and then we have ones that say sale, like contact them about the sale, and then we just have priority. We have one that's priority, which is just like when we tag them priority, that means that we need to take care of them more often. That's usually a business owner or a lead. But the tags that you definitely want to do, service, need serviced, like quickly, and then service, so that when I do my query of the 40-mile radius, if they popped up and they're serviced, we can take them out of that serviced so that we don't re-service them again. So the reason why they get a serviced tag, they get that tag for 2 years. Once it's past that, we have an assistant that's looking to see when their tags were, and then that tag comes off of them if they've not been recently serviced. So, yes, it has a date and everything on it. You can just put serviced and then it lists them, and then you can do it by dates and time. Like I said, I don't know that, but I watched it at our meetings and I was like, that's cool.
Bert.
So,
We'll finish it off with Bert.
but yes, definitely tag them.
This one's for Brett, just to give you some attention again.
Yes. I was gonna have you start leaning on me soon. I'll just stay
So,
here.
can you re-explain slowly the benefits and how complicated a process it is to become incorporated?
So
And like the
for
tax
me,
benefit behind it?
It was one 30-minute convo with my CPA, hopped on LegalZoom. I think it cost between $1,000 and $1,500 or something like that,
Like one time?
one time. And then went to the bank, you'll get an EIN number, employer identification number, and then that's it.
So why would somebody not be incorporated?
I mean, lack of knowledge, right? Like when I was a new DM, I was just trying to keep the lights on. That was like the last thing. So that, if you're not, let's say you're over $1 million in sales, but this is just kind of a, hey, I sell 80 grand a year and I love it and that's my thing. Like there's probably an income level where in your state it's not as big of an advantage, but I know your CPA, if you say, hey, here's how much I'm projecting to make, would you do this? And they'd be able to tell you easily.
So like what do you feel like the income level would be to like say it'd be worth it to be incorporated?
In the past, I've promoted to my DM team, like 80 grand is that time where you can start really thinking about it.
Sweet. So if you sell 200 grand in a year, you should probably start thinking about it.
I think south of that, you should at least start thinking about maybe planning for it, but yeah.
Perfect.
Tax free.
7K, yeah.
Let's give our speakers a round of applause.
I got the last one. That was good.
Thank you.
Yep.